Texas, TKSEs, is the second most populous and second largest state of the United States of America. Geographically located in the south-central part of the country, Texas shares an international border with Mexico to the south and borders the U.S. states of New Mexico to the west, Oklahoma to the north, Arkansas to the northeast, and Louisiana to the east. Texas has an area of 268,820 square miles and a growing population of over 26.9 million residents. Houston is the largest city in Texas and the fourth largest in the United States, while San Antonio is the second largest in the state and seventh largest in the United States. Dallas, Fort Worth and Greater Houston are the fourth and fifth largest United States metropolitan statistical areas, respectively. Other major cities include El Paso and Austin, the state capital. Texas is nicknamed the Lone Star State to signify Texas as a former independent republic, and as a reminder of the state's struggle for independence from Mexico. The Lone Star can be found on the Texan state flag and on the Texan state seal. The origin of the state name, Texas, is from the word Texas, which means friends in the Caddo language. Due to its size and geologic features such as the Balconer Fault, Texas contains diverse landscapes that resemble both the American South and Southwest. Although popularly associated with the southwestern deserts, less than 10% of Texas land area is desert. Most of the population centers are located in areas of former prairies, grasslands, forests, and the coastline. Traveling from east to west, one can observe terrain that ranges from coastal swamps and piney woods, to rolling plains and rugged hills, and finally the desert and mountains of the Big Bend. The term, Six Flags Over Texas, refers to several nations that have ruled over the territory. Spain was the first European country to claim the area of Texas. France held a short-lived colony in Texas. Mexico controlled the territory until 1836, when Texas won its independence, becoming an independent republic. In 1845, Texas joined the United States as the 28th state. The state's annexation set off a chain of events that caused the Mexican-American War in 1846. A slave state, Texas declared its secession from the United States in early 1861, and officially joined the Confederate States of America on March 2 of the same year. After the consequent Civil War and the restoration of its representation in the federal government, Texas entered a long period of economic stagnation. One Texas industry that thrived after the Civil War was cattle. Due to its long history as a center of the industry, Texas is associated with the image of the cowboy. The state's economic fortunes changed in the early 20th century, when oil discoveries initiated an economic boom in the state. With strong investments in universities, Texas developed a diversified economy and high-tech industry in the mid-20th century. As of 2010, it shares the top of the list of the most Fortune 500 companies, with California at 57. With a growing base of industry, the state leads in many industries, including agriculture, petrochemicals, energy, computers and electronics, aerospace, and biomedical sciences. Texas has led the nation in export revenue since 2002 and has the second highest gross state product. Etymology. The name Texas, based on the Caddo word Tecas meaning friends or allies, was applied by the Spanish to the Caddo themselves and to the region of their settlement in East Texas. During Spanish colonial rule, the area was officially known as the Nuevo Reino de Filipinas, La Provincia de Texas. Geography. Texas is the second largest U.S. state, behind Alaska, with an area of 268,820 square miles. Though 10% larger than France and almost twice as large as Germany or Japan, it ranks only 27th worldwide amongst country subdivisions by size. If it were still an independent country, Texas would be the 40th largest behind Chile and Zambia. Texas is in the south-central part of the United States of America. 3 of its borders are defined by rivers. The Rio Grande forms a natural border with the Mexican states of Chihuahua, Coahuila, Nuevo León, and Tamaulipas to the south. The Red River forms a natural border with Oklahoma and Arkansas to the north. The Sabine River forms a natural border with Louisiana to the east. The Texas Panhandle has an eastern border with Oklahoma at 100 degrees west, a northern border with Oklahoma at 36 degrees 30 N, and a western border with New Mexico at 103 degrees west. El Paso lies on the state's western tip at 32 degrees north, and the Rio Grande, with 10 climatic regions, 14 soil regions and 11 distinct ecological regions. Regional classification becomes problematic with differences in soils, topography, geology, rainfall, and plant and animal communities. One classification system divides Texas, in order from southeast to west, into the following: Gulf Coastal Plains, Interior Lowlands, Great Plains, and Basin and Range Province. The Gulf Coastal Plains region wraps around the Gulf of Mexico on the southeast section of the state. Vegetation in this region consists of thick piney woods. The Interior Lowlands region consists of gently rolling to hilly forested land and is part of a larger pine hardwood forest. The Great Plains region in central Texas is located and spans through the state's Panhandle and Llano Estacado to the state's hill country near Austin. This region is dominated by prairie and steppe. Far West Texas, or the Trans-Pecos region, is the state's basin and range province, the most varied of the regions. This area includes sand hills, the Stockton Plateau, desert valleys, wooded mountain slopes and desert grasslands. Texas has 3,700 named streams and 15 major rivers, with the Rio Grande as the largest. Other major rivers include the Pecos, the Brazos, Colorado, and Red River. While Texas has few natural lakes, Texans have built over 100 artificial reservoirs. The size and unique history of Texas make its regional affiliation debatable. It can be fairly considered a southern or a southwestern state, or both. The vast geographic, economic, and cultural diversity within the state itself prohibits easy categorization of the whole state into a recognized region of the United States. Notable extremes range from East Texas, which is often considered an extension of the Deep South, to far West Texas, which is generally acknowledged to be part of the interior Southwest. Geology: Texas is the southernmost part of the Great Plains, which ends in the south against the folded Sierra Madre Occidental of Mexico. The continental crust forms a stable Mesoproterozoic craton which changes across a broad continental margin and transitional crust into true oceanic crust of the Gulf of Mexico. The oldest rocks in Texas date from the Mesoproterozoic and are about 1,600 million years old. These Precambrian igneous and metamorphic rocks underlie most of the state, and are exposed in 3 places: Llano Uplift, Van Horn, and the Franklin Mountains, near El Paso. Sedimentary rocks overlay most of these ancient rocks. The oldest sediments were deposited on the flanks of a rifted continental margin, or passive margin, that developed during Cambrian time. This margin existed until Laurasia and Gondwana collided in the Pennsylvanian subperiod to form Pangaea. This is the buried crest of the Appalachian Mountains Washita Mountains zone of Pennsylvanian continental collision. This orogenic crest is today buried beneath the Dallas-Waco, Austin-San Antonio trend. The late Paleozoic mountains collapsed as rifting in the Jurassic period began to open the Gulf of Mexico. Pangaea began to break up in the Triassic, but seafloor spreading to form the Gulf of Mexico occurred only in the mid and late Jurassic. The shoreline shifted again to the eastern margin of the state and the Gulf of Mexico passive margin began to form. Today 9 to 12 miles of sediments are buried beneath the Texas continental shelf and a large proportion of remaining U.S. oil reserves are located here. At the start of its formation, the incipient Gulf of Mexico basin was restricted and seawater often evaporated completely to form thick evaporite deposits of Jurassic age. These salt deposits formed salt dome diapirs, and are found in East Texas along the Gulf Coast. East Texas outcrops consist of Cretaceous and Paleogene sediments which contain important deposits of Eocene lignite. The Mississippian and Pennsylvanian sediments in the north, Permian sediments in the west, and Cretaceous sediments in the east, along the Gulf Coast and out on the Texas continental shelf contain oil. Oligocene volcanic rocks are found in far west Texas in the Big Bend area. A blanket of Miocene sediments known as the Ogallala Formation in the western High Plains region is an important aquifer. Located far from an active plate tectonic boundary, Texas has no volcanoes and few earthquakes. Wildlife: a wide range of animals and insects live in Texas. It is the home to 65 species of mammals, 213 species of reptiles and amphibians, and the greatest diversity of bird life in the United States, 590 native species in all. At least 12 species have been introduced and now reproduce freely in Texas. Texas plays host to several species of wasps. Texas is one of the regions that has the highest abundance of Polistes exclamans. Additionally, Texas has provided an important ground for the study of Polistes annularis. During the spring, Texas wildflowers such as the state flower, the bluebonnet, line highways throughout Texas. During the Johnson administration, the First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson, worked to draw attention to Texas wildflowers. Climate: the large size of Texas and its location at the intersection of multiple climate zones gives the state highly variable weather. The panhandle of the state has colder winters than North Texas, while the Gulf Coast has mild winters. Texas has wide variations in precipitation patterns. El Paso, on the western end of the state, averages 8.7 inches of annual rainfall, while parts of southeast Texas average as much as 64 inches per year. Dallas in the north-central region averages a more moderate 37 inches per year. Snow falls multiple times each winter in the Panhandle and mountainous areas of West Texas, once or twice a year in North Texas, and once every few years in Central and East Texas. Snow only falls south of San Antonio or on the coast except in rare circumstances. Of note is the 2004 Christmas Eve snowstorm, when 6 inches of snow fell as far south as Kingsville, where the average high temperature in December is 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Maximum temperatures in the summer months average from the 80s degree F in the mountains of West Texas and on Galveston Island to around 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the Rio Grande Valley. But most areas of Texas see consistent summer high temperatures in the 90 degrees Fahrenheit range. Nighttime summer temperatures range from the upper 50s degree F in the West Texas mountains to 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Galveston. The table below consists of averages for August and January in selected cities in various regions of the state. El Paso and Amarillo are exceptions, with July and December respectively being the warmest and coldest months respectively, but with August and January only being narrowly different. Thunderstorms strike Texas often, especially the eastern and northern portions of the state. Tornado Alley covers the northern section of Texas. The state experiences the most tornadoes in the United States, an average of 139 a year. These strike most frequently in North Texas and the Panhandle. Tornadoes in Texas generally occur in the months of April, May, and June. Some of the most destructive hurricanes in U.S. history have impacted Texas. A hurricane in 1875 killed about 400 people in Indianola, followed by another hurricane in 1886 that destroyed the town. These events allowed Galveston to take over as the chief port city. The 1900 Galveston Hurricane subsequently devastated that city, killing about 8,000 people or possibly as many as 12,000. This makes it the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. Other devastating Texas hurricanes include the 1915 Galveston Hurricane, Hurricane Audrey in 1957 which killed over 600 people, Hurricane Carla in 1961, Hurricane Beulah in 1967, Hurricane Alicia in 1983, Hurricane Rita in 2005, and Hurricane Ike in 2008. Tropical storms have also caused their share of damage. Allison in 1989 and again during 2001, and Claudette in 1979 among them. Greenhouse gases. Texas emits the most greenhouse gases in the U.S. The state emits nearly 1.5 trillion pounds of carbon dioxide annually. As an independent nation, Texas would rank as the world's seventh largest producer of greenhouse gases. Causes of the state's vast greenhouse gas emissions include the state's large number of coal power plants and the state's refining and manufacturing industries. In 2010, there were 2,553 emission events, which poured 44.6 million pounds of contaminants into the Texas sky.